Hey, it's Herman with Deep Roots Farm. I know you guys like to know where your food comes from, and some of you have questions about what our cattle do in the wintertime because we are a pasture-based operation, grass finished. So what are the cattle doing in the wintertime? Obviously from October to May, there's no grass growing out there. So what are they eating in the wintertime? And I'll just give you kind of a rundown of how that works. So what we usually try to do is make our grazing last as long as possible. So we try to save some of that grass that grows during the summertime to graze during the late fall and early winter. So often the cattle are out in the pasture. We're still rotating them into early winter. This year they graze until early January actually on what we call stockpiled forage. So just grasses and forbs that grew during the summertime that they're grazing later on in the late fall, early winter. And believe it or not, there can actually be a lot of good green forage out there at that time of the year. So let's try it. That's what we try to do, is keep them out in the pasture as long as possible. Let them hang out there. That's where they prefer to be. When it does turn to, as the winter goes on, the forage quality declines in the pasture, so then we start feeding hay. And we try to get a mixture of grasses, legumes, alfalfa, hay, so they have some variety out there. And then I prefer to feed those bales out on the pasture so that the cattle can still be out on the pasture. They leave their manure out there. It doesn't get concentrated in a big pile where it becomes a problem. When the manure gets deposited out on the pasture, it's a good natural part of the cycling process. But when you pile it up, concentrate it, it becomes an environmental problem. So we try to avoid that. Right now, where the cattle are at, there's an old windbreak here, and it's kind of surrounded by trees, which helps with the wind. So during times of extreme cold like we've had here lately, this is end of February and we're just kind of coming to the end of a really cold stretch. And this is where I'll feed them, if they really need to get out of the wind and have a little more extra protection. So this is a spot they like to hang out. You can see they're pretty comfortable here right now. I can feel the sun. The sun is powerful. It's heating me up and it's heating them up. So this is kind of a nice spot for them to hang out during the extreme cold conditions. So it's pretty much just hay. You can see that one there is licking on a lick tub. It's a molasses lick tub. So that molasses gives them a little more energy during the really cold conditions. It also helps them to digest the hay that they're getting. So cattle, when it gets really cold, one way that they keep warm is they eat more. So if they're going to eat more, they have to have something that's really digestible. So that molasses, it helps them to digest the dry forage that they're getting. It's kind of like putting jelly on your toast. So that's kind of what that is for them. Helps them digest it better, helps them eat more, and helps them stay warm in the cold conditions. We do have a barn here that once in a while I'll feed some small squares in the barn, but typically they would really prefer to be out here in the open. So that's really where we try to keep them comfortable. And they don't really want to go into an enclosed area. They like to be open where it's fresh air. It's not really good for them to be in a confined space. So this is where they like to be, and this is where I'd prefer to have them. As soon as this weather warms up a little bit, probably tomorrow, I'm gonna place some bales on the pasture again and get them back out there. So just want to check in with you and show you what the cattle are doing in the wintertime. So have a great day.